If you found this video enjoyable, please leave a like and hell, even subscribe if you want to. It only takes 2 clicks, and push that notification bell just to get the messages for my videos. That would be greatly appreciated. November 3rd, 1954 would be the release date of the theatrical version of Godzilla in Japan. 65 years later, the author of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, Hirohiko Araki, would be inspired to write one of the strongest stands in his entire franchise, Wonder Review, and his user Toru, who would cause a number of calamities for the protagonists of Jojolian. Hello everybody, my name is Metas, and if you've been on this channel for long enough, I have covered Wonder Review pretty in-depthly. But due to the flow of time and how power scaling can dramatically change over said time, characters can be scaled even higher now. And in this case, Wonder Review is even stronger than I previously thought. So to jump right into the basics of Wonder Review, if you try to uncover the identity of the head doctor or try to chase Toru down, the flow of calamity will pursue you. Or in a much broader term, since it's actually kind of vague, the intent of pursuing the head doctor will also activate the flow of calamity. The flow will gradually get stronger, starting off like minor attacks to eventually leading to death. And if there are multiple people trying to pursue the head doctor, whoever is trying to pursue the most will be the first in line, eventually going in pursuit order. And if a person were to see Toru's face, it is instant death. Some type of calamity will pursue you that will kill you almost instantaneously, with the added caveat being that anything can become a weapon in the flow of calamity. Rain can eventually be more or less bullets, objects can basically clip you in half. Really anything under heaven, which is stated by Mamazuku, can be a weapon wielded by calamity. Now, in a layman's terms, that is a very, very basic idea of Wonder Review. More or less, this is the same idea or Wonder Review I used in the D4C versus Wonder Review video, which, mind you, is still very, very, very powerful. Basically the 4th strongest stand in the entire franchise on a low ball, mind you. Now, the Wonder Review we'll be talking about now is a Wonder Review that is highballed very dramatically with character statements proving that he's extremely powerful, that slowly break and kind of almost bleed into our reality of basically meeting some like metaphysics. The flow of calamity is the flow of reason, which is logic. The logic of this world is linked together in a continuous chain, basically meaning that everything in this universe is forever connected, bleeding into the idea of string theory, but very loosely. The worlds in Jojo are universes. D4C had the ability to hop between these parallel dimensions that are referred to as worlds in Steel Ball Run, therefore meaning the Jojo multiverse is infinite in the number of universes and is logically understood in verse, basically meaning that the flow of calamity is in every universe and logic is also in every universe. True Form Wonder Review, which was shown at the very end of that arc, is the embodiment of logic. The form of the head doctor is calamity energy itself. Wonder Review is a hybrid of a stand and a person as the head doctor. A stand is the mind and soul, and Wonder Review seemingly died mind, body, and soul and came back because of logic when it comes to True Form Wonder Review, because he is logic itself. Wonder Review is stated to be a universal law that exists and will never go away. With that, logic should scale to each individual world in the Jojo multiverse, and the ideas within each world are within the flow of reason, aka logic, aka Wonder Review itself. This gives Wonder Review a high godly regeneration, which is the ability to regenerate after the erasure of the mind, body, and soul, along with one fundamental aspect of a character's existence, the underlying concept or information needed for them to exist. Wonder Review is a concept that is logic, that scales within the Jojo multiverse, or that the information needed, which is logic, is needed for him to exist. So if you got confused by any of that, I don't blame you. More or less, if I were to summarize it for you real quick, Wonder Review is logic itself, a fundamental aspect of the universe, and most likely and probably indefinitely a aspect of the Jojo multiverse. Wonder Review is crazy powerful, but this is only one aspect of his power. This is more like a broad, super general term of logic and reason and the flow of calamity, because there are slight caveats to its ability that are mentioned between characters in verse, and surprisingly all named by Mamazuku for whatever reason. I don't know why he knows all of this, but he just does. The greatest statement said by Mamazuku about Wonder Review is karmic retribution. Karmic retribution is everything you've done up until this point now, all relates to his energy. Everything you've done in a social and general sense is related to Wonder Review, the flow of reason, the flow of logic, the flow of calamity. Karmic retribution can also be called the flow of unintended consequences. Unintended unintended consequences are the outcomes of purposeful actions that are not intended or foreseen. This is just basically, in a general sense, real-world flow of calamity. Mamazuku also states that these links that karmic retribution has are forever linked. They never end, they are endless. It presents a reader of the philosophical thought that all of your actions have consequences no matter what. Big or small, bad or good. They affect somebody, something, forevermore, infinitely. And Wonder Review has the ability to control this logic or reasoning. An example of this, and just in general about your consequences of your actions within the Jojo universe, would be Jobin and his whole mini arc within the Wonder Review arc, him trying to gain the Higashikata household and the whole fruit parlor in general, leading to his death, showing the first case of if you see Toru, you die instantly. And due to Wonder Review being a so-called energy, he can manipulate himself through walls, kind of almost being a ghost in a sense. It's only shown once, but he has the ability to do that. I'm just pointing that out. The next statement I would like to highlight is when Mamazuku says, all things under heaven and earth and the connections between them, none of them will be on your side. This statement basically proves that everything can be a weapon for Wonder Review, and eventually later on in this fight with Mamazuku and Josuke against Wonder Review, even Josuke's bubbles can be used against him and others. This statement also poses the question that what are the limitations of Wonder Review? Can Wonder Review detonate a nuke? Can Wonder Review throw a literal meteor at somebody? What is Wonder Review's limitations when it comes to attacks? But to counterpoint that argument, basically anything like rain can become extremely deadly, so you wouldn't need something that dramatic anyway, but it just poses that question for power scalers in general. Also within that fight, something happens that I don't think a lot of people notice, is that Wonder Review is able to feel the environment around him, because basically at this point Josuke has entered kind of the whole explosive spin evolution step guide, or whatever you would like to call it, and Wonder Review is basically able to feel out the room, sensing Josuke's power, meaning that Wonder Review can feel something outside of logic very vaguely. And shortly after that we get the whole and infamous, you're 2 meters in front of me, this has never happened before, this is the first time somebody's ever been this close to me, where Mamazuku is literally in finger point range of Wonder Review. Seconds right after that, Wonder Review somehow controls Josuke's bubbles while he was controlling them, and it damages Mamazuku Rai. Whether or not these soap bubbles are actually just the regular soap bubbles or the explosive spin is to be decided by the viewer. Personally, I think it was just the regular bubbles that Josuke was spinning, but it could be both. Shortly after this, we eventually get the chain of calamity. Basically what I previously said earlier in the video is where, you know, if you see Toru, you'll instantly die and a random event will occur. The random event that occurs in this case would be the plane piece that is falling down at an extremely high altitude aiming for Yasuho. And to add to that, the whole law of unintended consequences kicks in here after Yasuho regains her arm from Jashu. Jashu tries to attack her, saying to give back his arm, which also slightly implies that Wonder Review could possibly also control the actions of people when it comes to actually their emotions and stuff, which is also very, very interesting, which is helped by the whole, you know, everything's connected under the flow of logic and reason. Immediately right after that, we get probably and most likely the greatest Wonder Review statement by far. Quote, "The world is strung together by reason and logic. No matter what standability I'm dealing with, it shouldn't be able to reach beyond that logic and attack me or touch me like this. This act of pursuit towards me will definitely be delivered back as a serious wound of calamity. Because of the flow of calamity is the flow of reason. The logic and reason of this world are together in a continuous sequence. It's completely impossible to go beyond that logic and that sequence. It can never happen ever. It's impossible to surpass it. No one has ever surpassed Wonder Review's flow of calamity." End quote. So if you want a TLDR on what Araki just said right there, basically, Wonder Review is logically the strongest stand in the series, verbatim. And shortly after this, Wonder Review proceeds to block go beyond shots that are eventually building up to the maximum, the climax. Toru then gets shot 2 times by a go beyond shot, then proceeds to get finally KO'd by the rock sickness, and then shortly after that, Josuke at his full power then proceeds to kill True Form Wonder Review. It takes a being above logic, a fundamental force of the Jojo multiverse, to beat him. It doesn't doesn't take one shot, it takes 3 on top of a sickness at its peak because of the flow of calamity. So to go into a quick Go Beyond scaling, Go Beyond can scale above the infinite rotation due to, the explosive spin being above logic and being infinitely close to 0, meaning that it surpasses the golden rotation. Of course, meaning that Go Beyond is unlogically the strongest stand in the series. Now, for whatever reason, if you think the Wonder View quote is kind of hyperbole and it's not true, it's just him building himself up thinking that he was the strongest, here is an author interview from Jojo in volume 27 stating that, well, Wonder View is at least bare minimum the strongest villain stand in the entire series. This author note also kind of implies that Calamity itself is probably one of the strongest fundamental forces in the Jojo universe, and also it scares Araki too. With that author note in mind, Wonder View scales above all villains in the Jojo universe, including D4C Love Train that transcends an infinite amount of dimensions / universes, because Araki says Wonder View is the strongest villain with the strongest stand ability, or ability in general. So I'm going to go over a couple counterpoints that I think a lot of people will probably say in the comment section in general, that being Wonder View isn't actually the flow of logic since it follows a certain logic. Just because Wonder View is bound by a certain logic doesn't mean he isn't logic. For example, if I'm the embodiment of logic, then obviously I'm bound by logic. And where this scales inverse, the certain logic that Araki refers to is when it comes to Wonder View is called karmic retribution. Karmic retribution is logic of everything a Jojo character has interacted with in their entire life, basically, and is always in constant interaction with Wonder View and his calamic energy. Even if the scan is supposed to mean Wonder View isn't the totality of the flow of logic, it still means that there is still a certainty that follows with the flow of logic in verse. Even if you lowball this one scan and use it against my argument, it's still one scan against an entire chapter's worth of evidence. I wouldn't even say chapter's worth, it's more like an entire arc worth of evidence. If Wonder View is bound by a certain logic, can you prove to me that it's not the flow of logic? Because even if Wonder View isn't the totality of logic, he still uses logic that flows / exists through the entire Jojo multiverse and will always come back from any attack because of logic. The scan actually helps Wonder View because Araki straight up states that Wonder View is the strongest villain in the series, which upscales off all the other characters like GER upscales off of it, and only Soft and Wet Go Beyond can really overcome Wonder View currently. And since I know somebody's gonna mention it, how fast is Wonder View? Genuinely speaking, he's either instantaneous or he manipulates the perception of people, making him look instantaneous. But since he is, logically the universe itself, he can be everywhere at once, kind of, almost in a sense, if you want to look at it like that. So low ball as fast as he needs to be, or high ball instantaneous / infinite. And yes, I want to cover Wonder View versus GER a lot more in depthly, including, Soft and Wet Go Beyond versus GER in the future, so I'm not going to go too in depth on that argument in this video because I don't want it to run for like another 15 minutes, but more or less, Wonder View is incredibly powerful. I would give him the ballpark estimate of being Universal Plus in just Wonder View form, and when he's in his true form, which is logic, I'd say Multiversal Plus with a bit of godly regeneration mixed in there. And before the video ends, I would like to shout out the homie Jobber. He helped me script this video and just scaling Wonder View in general just because how funny he is, and he wanted to be a part of it, but I lost his audio. So my bad, bro. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, stay hydrated. See you in the next one, ladies and gentlemen.